Thank you for your support all along. The channel is growing. Many things were happening. My film released Safar Mein Sheher, an independent film. And I also gave a talk. I was delighted to give that talk on quiet cinema in the age of gigantism. I was invited by the TEDx team at IIM Bangalore. Then there was a publication of the book on Ghatak, the epic cinema of Ritvik Ghatak. It's available on Amazon, and we are resuming now our series on conversations with practitioners, with industry people, writers, filmmakers, directors on Indian cinema and what makes it so unique. This channel is meant to simplify filmmaking for everyone. And this time we invited Pawan Sony, a screenwriter, who I have known for many years, and we have worked on a screenplay. And I wanted to share perspectives on recent cinema with him. Remember, these are not interviews, these are more conversations where, I invite my colleagues with whom I have a very close relationship, over years, and we discuss our mutual perspectives on working in the industry and making films. And Pawan Sony is today with us. He's written films like Dil Dosti, etc. 16, those were his early films, and followed up with Stree and Blurr. So last two films were very successful, and the first two films also were critically acclaimed films, and people still mention those films. He works as a screenwriter in the industry, and naturally he has a certain understanding of popular Indian cinema. He has studied it on his own, and I thought it will be good to share insights with him, from his perspective on the topic of cinema from the 21st century, let's say. We have covered a lot of ground. So, what is that cinema all about? And which is where he has contributed also. First, I would like to, Pawan, thank you for agreeing to this.
Thank you for inviting me.
He's basically a practitioner. He doesn't actively teach, but he agreed to come and have this conversation. So, I would like to start first with your work as a screenwriter, so that students get some insight into the process also, how these popular films are shaped
Sure.
in our industry. You didn't go to any film school. You were in Delhi, and you studied journalism and psychology.
I studied philosophy also.
Philosophy also.
was my major.
And then how did you come to be a screenwriter? What was the transition point in the early days?
मतलब बचपन से था कि पिक्चर बनानी है.
Acha, okay. Acha.
So all these things, whether I was studying psychology, whether I was studying philosophy, whether I was studying journalism, they're all to understand humankind, to understand people, to understand
Yeah.
the world in a better way. So
So somewhere, but to be a filmmaker was there at the back of the mind.
yeah, yeah.
So how did you get the first opportunity?
First opportunity, I was in Delhi at that time. This must be 2002. This was far before the social media and all. There used to be this, in the early days of internet, there used to be these things called mailing lists.
Mailing list.
Yeah. So there was a particular mailing list called Web Cinema India. करके. And on that, this person called Manish Tiwari gave an ad कि I'm looking for a writer. And Manish himself had nothing to do with cinema. He was working with United Nations in Rome, and he wanted to make a film. And we met up, and we got along well. So I was still in Delhi when I wrote that first film, Dil Dosti, etc.
So was this like a long distance collaboration, or did you actually sit in a room and write?
No, we didn't sit in a room. After 1 year, he moved to Delhi.
He moved to Delhi.
He moved to Delhi, but it was not like we would sit in, like I would go home and I would work on it for 2-3 weeks, and then I would send it to him, then we'll discuss it. So it went like that.
So both of you were in Delhi when you wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay. And since he also did not have any
Yeah.
sort of training,
Yeah.
and you also did not have. How did that collaboration unfold?
I think that's the most interesting thing about the first films, especially when you're coming from no experience. मैं वो फिल्म शायद आज नहीं लिख सकता because I'm so experienced. That film was innocent. We didn't care about what Sid Field said. Sid Field is a scriptwriter and teacher. He's like one of the major gurus. So we didn't come from
So
that
there were
background.
no
कि
rules, no
no rules.
acts to
हाँ,
be followed, and
मतलब
no
हल्का फुल्का पता था because थोड़ा बहुत
plays,
पढ़ा हुआ है,
theater.
but we just went and did our own thing. So that's why I think it was also one of my most original works because
Okay.
coming from a very, very innocent place.
And your second film was 16.
Yeah.
Both these films deal with sort of, you can say, growing up years,
Yeah.
16, as the name suggests,
It's about
they're
16-year-olds.
16-year-old
Yeah.
characters from school.
Yeah.
And your first film was Delhi University
Delhi
Life.
University. Yeah.
So in a sense, it was based on your own experiences.
I think more Dil Dosti than 16.
Yeah. Okay.
Because by the time I wrote 16, I was in my late 20s.
Okay.
So yeah, and it was a very okay.
But it was Delhi, the world
It
of
was Delhi. It was
yeah.
Delhi. Yeah. So I knew those kids.
So what I'm trying to suggest is that these are works which come from your world in a sense.
Right.
You have directly, indirectly lived those lives. They are not autobiographical, but
Yeah.
you know that life.
Right.
So then moving on to what made you come to Bombay? And that would have been a big decision to shift to Bombay.
Took me quite a few years to then make that move because it was supposed to be the scary world of Bollywood. Where
Yeah,
no. So it took me quite a few years to actually move.
But you came with a certain project.
I came with a certain project. I was assisting in a film that I had a friend who had become a producer. He was making a small film, and so I moved as an associate director. So I had something in hand when I moved. So that film never got a proper release, but I had some work, so I at least had a step inside the industry.
Then you changed genre from young, growing up, coming of age kind of genre to a very different world of, ghosts and spirits.
I don't think see, the thing is, one, I'm a writer for hire. I'm a professional writer. So I don't think I ever had that kind of a thing कि अच्छा यही लिखना है. So whatever I get and whatever I find interesting.
So how did Stree appeal to you when it first came to you? What did you see in
I
it?
have a lot of love for horror.
Okay.
I have a lot of love for horror. I have seen all those, 90s, 30s, 1940s Hammer का horror जो है, 60s का, 30s का, Universal का horror. All that is like, it's a kind of like bloodstream to me.
So you
it was
sort of
very
mysteriously attracted somebody who wanted to work in that genre because you hadn't done in that
Yeah, I
work.
hadn't done, but I met Rajan DK about something else. But that never took off. That's
As it
when they
happens
said
in the
कि,
industry all the time.
Yeah.
And how was it collaborating? You worked up to the story
We worked on
stage.
the story stage, yeah.
So how does this collaboration, if you had to compare and go back, from your early collaborations to these two directors who are experienced and in the industry,
Right.
what would be your observation about, how is it different?
I think every person brings their own different personalities to work. So working with even those two directors, Manish and Raj, was very different. And working with Raj and DK and then working with Ajay Behel, well, they're all such different people. So experience was very different with all of them.
So a writer has to kind of tune into
Absolutely.
very different personalities and
all the time. Yeah, because
all the time, you have to be
ultimately it's the director's film.
Yeah.
So I can't be like, ये मेरी picture है, वो है director
So
की
you have to
film.
be
So I have to be
very adaptable.
very adaptable, yeah, and to very, very different.
That is an important quality in a writer.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because for whatever time period that we are writing the script, it's also the closest relationship that we have. We are meeting almost daily and we're spending hours together sometimes.
It can go on till
for
6
years.
months, a
it
year.
can go for years. I mean,
Years sometimes,
years, yeah.
till it goes to the
actually gets made.
production production stage.
Yeah. I mean, a scary fact is like, if you start writing a script today, most probably it would release, and if you're lucky, it would release something around 2030. So,
It's true.
at an average, 5-6 years is what it takes.
To finally come out.
Yeah.
It's a long relationship.
It's a long relationship.
So you are careful now with whom you enter into that.
हाँ, I think see, मेरा एक वो शुरू से रहा है relationships के बारे में. If I meet a director for the first time and we could sit and chat for 45 minutes, we'll probably end up working together. If it ends at 20-25 minutes, I'm like, we just didn't get that vibe. You have to have that first meeting that meet cute has to happen.
Surprisingly, I was reading some Hollywood director saying that about casting, which is very surprising.
Right.
And like a name director, and he would say that he doesn't cast by audition or anything. He just goes out for a meal or something, sees if he can talk to her or him, for a sustained conversation.
Yeah.
Even for something like acting, it matters. I think this vibe is what really counts in these kind of collaborations, because
Absolutely.
if that is not there, it can get quite troublesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So all the directors I've seen, antennas are really alert that, while you're thinking about appropriateness, you're also thinking, do I get along with this person for so long? Will I get along?
Yeah.
Because it can jeopardize the project, especially actors,
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not on the same wavelength.
It can really jeopardize it.
Yeah.
So I'm also very alert, and if I find anything going this way, even if I have started shooting, I will change my decision because it can be problematic down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little more about the content of these two films. I'm very fascinated by both Stree and Blurr, also in the context of our topic, cinema from 2000 to 2025,
Right.
They deal with very contemporary issues.
Yeah.
They're entertaining, engaging films.
Yeah.
They're not out to preach anything.
Yeah.
But embedded within the film, there is a certain content, which is powerful, relatable, and of today.
Yeah.
So, can you give a sense of how this happens? Again, I'm trying to get from you less as a commentator than as a maker, as a co-creator,
Right.
So that's insight we get.
Right. See, whenever you have any story, now there are a couple of things. What is the story trying to say? And I generally start with the story, layering बाद में होगी.
The narrative, what happens? This happens, that happens, that
मेरा
happens.
idea
and
क्या है?
How does that all flow?
कहानी
That
क्या
has
है?
to be in
Yeah,
place.
that has to be in place. Once that gets into place, then अच्छा ये जो characters हैं इनकी जिंदगी क्या है? What are they dealing with? One is your basic कहानी कि भाई ये है. Like Stree was अच्छा कहानी ये है कि वहाँ पे एक भूतनी है जो आती है, and they're all scared. But then the layering of women empowerment comes. Because that place is also dealing with Mazhar. So a lot of stuff comes in. A lot of like with Blurr, the idea was okay, there's a killer who no one has seen because he's so ordinary.
So that is very interesting. It's about the sisters who have this degenerative
eye
disease, you can call, or condition, where they are gradually losing eyesight. So it's about not being able to see. And then you have a murderer who's sort of so ordinary that he's invisible. That's a very nice metaphorical connection in the film.
Yeah.
So this came to you like
This was a remake that we
but
got
the project came to you like we have to adapt this film.
Yeah. And it was also a film which was such a tight film. Like, as a writer, one also needs to know कि अगर आप अडेप्ट कर रहे हो तो आपको कितनी क्रिएटिविटी डालनी है उसमें. अगर मैं ब्लर में बहुत ज़्यादा चेंजेस करता द फिल्म वुड हैव फॉलन अपार्ट बिकॉज इट्स ऑलरेडी अ टाइट
स्क्रिप्ट.
एट द सेम टाइम यू गेट सर्टेन फिल्म्स, कई बार रिमेक मिलता है आपको जब ओरिजिनल में बहुत इश्यूज हैं.
करेक्ट.
कई बार यू गेट लाइक लास्ट like when Netflix and all started, so the industry also got into these things that if books को adapt करते हैं. And a lot of them were really really bad books. But अच्छा हॉलीवुड में बुक्स को अडेप्ट करते हैं तो हम भी अडेप्ट करेंगे. So that was happening. And but then you see those books and you see कि क्या क्रैप है and then what you do with that. मतलब बहुत बुरी बुरी बुक्स को हमने अडेप्ट किया है. That's when your creativity, you extend your creativity. क्योंकि इसमें वो नहीं है. We can go whatever way we want to. We can have that liberty. In a film like Blur, it's a very tight script. So there's only so much that you can do. We did with the main serial killer's background we worked on. So there were changes that we made. But there were no major changes because it was...
The main thing would be situating it in a different environment, socially, culturally. That is the biggest task.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. With some films, yes.
Both Stree and Blur are kind of then grounded in this reality.
Absolutely. I think that grounding is very, very important.
Very important.
Very important. It has to... ज़मीन क्या कहती है आपकी, मिट्टी क्या कहती है वो. मैं आपको जूलिया जाइज लेके आ रहा हूँ, ब्लर कर रहा हूँ मैं उत्तरांचल में, बट वो मिट्टी क्या कह रही है मुझे.
वो जो आप कह रहे थे कि कहानी का सीड, कहानी कुछ भी हो सकती है.
कहानी कुछ
जब आप शुरू करते हो फिर आप और आपके कोलैबोरेटर जब उसमें इन्वॉल्व होते हैं तो वो एक रूप लेने लगती है जिसमें देन आपकी जो फीलिंग्स हैं, योर व्यूज, योर वर्ल्ड व्यूज, योर एटीट्यूड्स, they all started coming sort of organically.
Absolutely, yeah. Like my first film, Dil Dosti, etc. The story was about basically this guy who wants to have sex with 3 women in a day. Now, as an idea, it's अच्छा इस पे sex comedy बनाते हैं. But what we made was a film that was about Delhi, the city.
Correct.
Its morality.
Somebody could have made a very crude film out of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Without connections with the culture and life and so on.
What we made was a film about Delhi.
That generally applies to most ideas. I mean, we'll come to this director also about Hirani.
Yeah.
That when he was doing 3 Idiots, he just was excited with the college vibe of the fiction, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like with the 3 Idiots, I think the source material was that Chetan Bhagat's book.
Yeah.
But if you see the film,
it's made...
It's some other level.
Some other level, yes. I agree.
मुझे दिमाग में भी नहीं आता चाहिए वहाँ से लिया है.
So that much you can bring to a project, you know.
Yeah. 3 Idiots was a wonderful job of doing adaptation. Yeah. Taking the book to another level.
So that seems to be, I think we are touching on a common question which comes up, you know, about films. Good films, bad films, very broadly. And when they touch upon certain issues, a bad film would be that it is very much on the face and is giving you a so-called message. Whereas a good film is apparently not doing it, but it is woven within the world of that film. It comes very much through that.
I think like Hirani's films are very much on the nose.
On the nose.
कि मैं ये बता रहा हूँ आपको, सुनो बैठ के.
गांधी की फिलॉसफी समझो.
But he does it so entertainingly. You're like, okay यार बता रहा है पर मजा आ रहा है.
मजा आ रहा है. उसने एक ये रास्ता निकाल लिया.
Yeah. So that's what he does so wonderfully कि he is preaching. पर वो preaching में मजा आ रहा है. मैं सुन के आ रहा हूँ, मैं वो like I don't know if you know कि when लगे रहो मुन्ना भाई released, it had a massive impact on the country.
Got?
Gandhigiri, Gandhi's
Yeah.
philosophy, they
They got.
in today's context, in a very contemporary context,
Yeah.
in a very fun context also.
So, what about the scary part? How do you craft that? Can you share some points about it? I know it's not very exciting to talk, open up your lab, kind of,
No, I don't think
but just maybe a hint of what goes on
I think
in a suspense. Basically, it is about.
I think मुझे बहुत चीज़ों से डर लगता है.
अच्छा, तो
So
आपने
मुझे
वो
लगता
डर
है कि
को आप
हाँ, so वो डर कहाँ से, मतलब सिचुएशन में कैसे डर लाना है. So जब मुझे डर लगता है तो मुझे लगता है कि हाँ, there are so many things that
स्कूल
can
डेज में
scare
डर
you.
लगता होगा कि
I think
बाद में भी?
I think अभी भी मुझे काफ़ी डर है एज अ पर्सन, बट वो डर कहानी के लिए वर्क करते हैं. जब मैं थ्रिलर लिख रहा हूँ, जब मैं हॉरर लिख रहा हूँ, तो वर्क करते
That is what these films tap on. That
हैं. Yeah,
जो सबके अंदर एक है, एक
yeah,
अननोन चीज का डर.
yeah,
That is a universal thing
yeah, absolutely.
that people carry, and that
Yeah.
is what it taps. The
Yeah.
primal
Yeah,
feeling
the
is
primal
that.
feeling, the primal fears that you have. And
But
those
Stree
fears,
is beautiful in the way it weaves in the
yeah,
narratives की जो lines
absolutely.
हैं. So we want to talk about directors who have, done a similar thing, that entertaining cinema, but it's not just mindless entertainment. There is a core theme that they are bringing out. And the first one that I would like to focus on is Gowariker. Ashutosh Gowariker, in particular, two films, Lagan and Swadesh. Now, he also is like Hirani in that sense, very committed, one should say, to ideas, We can make out. I mean, he's not in cinema just to make another
Right.
blockbuster.
Yeah.
He is passionate about certain ideas, and he's going out of the way to bring those to the screen. Starting with Lagan, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which got him great acclaim. It
Yeah.
succeeded commercially.
Yeah.
As we say, critical and commercial success, even at a global level.
Yeah.
It was nominated. Now, what are your views on these two films? Let's say Lagan.
Lagan is an absolutely great film. There are no two doubts about that. Also, it's a big budget blockbuster film. There's nothing small about that film. Every scene is epic. The choreography is epic. They're making a big film. They're very conscious about
Very
it.
conscious, yeah.
We're making a big film, and a big film about sports. And if we go back to that era, there was no sports film का कोई culture नहीं था.
अच्छा, ये सब चकदे वगैरह सब बात
Chakte
की
came
हैं.
in 90s, 2007. That film came in 2001. In fact, there was one classic before Lagan. There was only one classic sports film that we had, was Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar.
Cyclist pick.
Cyclist pick. And if you look at it today, it's a very, very usual story of a cycle race. But of course, there are different. It's a very layered film, and there are lots of stuff happening. But कहानी क्या है? साइकिल रेस की है. दो लोग हैं जो एक बच्चा है जो साइकिल रेस जीतना चाहता है. And I remember the advertising that they did was कि you think Bollywood films are all same? Guess what is the story of Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar? And it's not a out of the box story for today. But at that time, there were so many cliches. Every story was the same, looked the same.
Did you know he's an alumni of IIT Bombay? Mansoor Khan.
Oh.
Yeah, he is. But that is one connection. But the bigger connection actually is he's a son of Nasir Hussain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Who's a big producer.
Yeah.
And a cousin of Amir Khan.
Yeah.
But he's left filmmaking completely.
He's left filmmaking. He's in Kunnoor making cheese.
He's the first person I had met when I graduated. I mean, first person as a director.
Right.
But that time he was not making a film.
Right. Yeah.
I had seen Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, which I thought was fresh cinema. I remember meeting him in his Bandra office opposite Mehboob Studios. But Lagan, I would want to share one reservation. I thought that such a serious subject about sheer exploitation
Yeah.
of nth magnitude, you know.
Yeah.
But then you make it about just a game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was not comfortable with that at some level.
I think that's what works. See,
But it works.
I think it's an
It works as a
audacious.
way to popularize.
Absolutely.
But then somewhere, I don't know, I felt
See, I think logically it doesn't make sense. It's like कि हमारे यहाँ के I think it's like हमारे 4 शॉपकीपर्स पड़ोस के एक क्रिकेट मैच खेलते हैं कि निर्मला सीतारमण हमारा जीएसटी माफ कर दो वो 2 साल के लिए हम पार्लियामेंट की एक टीम से तो क्रिकेट में हराएंगे.
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But the conviction of that of the
That is the
storyteller.
thing that is interesting about film and filmmaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do something with such conviction and your own belief that you're able to
Yeah.
pull it through, you know. People don't question it.
Yeah. Such a ridiculous story, but he pulled it off.
Pull it off. That's
And
the
it-
achievement.
Amazing job.
In a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But the other theme in that, which is admirable, which is also a subject which runs in his next film, Swadesh, which is about the great diversity and that casteism, you know,
Yeah.
his whole view on that.
Right.
He was able to
Yeah.
bring that into it.
Yeah.
That was admirable.
Absolutely. Yeah. An excellent
Then
film.
he and that sheer courage, I think, is admirable. That he takes up a film like Swadesh. You know,
Yeah.
it is based on a book
I
which
think-
one wouldn't dare to touch for a feature film of with Shah Rukh Khan.
Shah Rukh Khan. Yeah.
How did he even think of it?
Yeah. And he can. And of course, he was coming from Lagan, so you
He
get
had that
excel.
faith that you could
Yeah.
make a film like which is so rooted and
Yeah. After such a big hit,
he
you
thought
also get
having a
that-
superstar would kind of be the insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it didn't work well commercially.
I think commercially it did okay business.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was not like a big blockbuster. I saw it recently and the film is still fresh.
So there's this thing about the popular Indian cinema, you know, when I think about it and reflect on decades of such cinema. Very interesting thing is, you know, there are films and the current phenomena. Some films are great films on a weekend, but then they disappear, you know. They do that little box office magic
Right.
and they're gone and nobody 1 year later wants to even recall them.
Yeah.
There are films which do very badly in the first week and then they pick up.
Yeah.
Like it happened with Chak De in recent memory. For me personally, it's Chak De because I knew those people. So first week it was kind of written off.
Right.
You know, they thought, okay, bana liye, release kar dete. Same thing with Pan Singh Tomar. UTV, which had put the money, sat on it for 2 years, thinking ke, you know, too much expenditure involved in releasing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let it lie, you know, we'll see. And then when they released, it became a big successful film.
Yeah.
So then there are these films which, you know, don't seem to be so-called, you know, the right film for mass audience, but they do well. Even with my film which I was part of, Satya, we never expected anything
Yeah.
even close to what happened. I mean, it was just shocking. The success was literally, we were shocked what is happening, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very unpredictable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And with most such films, it is a slow rise actually. It's not in the first week.
Yeah.
Because they don't have those obvious magnets,
Right.
you know, who will come to see Irfan Khan in a lead role. That will be the thinking kind of. And that too about an athlete and it's a or Satya, you know, some very gritty film. There's no big
Newcomers.
actors, all newcomers, unknown people, you know, who will watch this kind of a film. That is usually the case when people downplay and then it surprises after a week. Sometimes even that doesn't happen, which is what bothers me, you know, which is the case, say, with Guru Dutt's film, you know.
Right.
Even if you sustain it for weeks, Kagaz Ke Phool will not do well
Right.
at that time.
Yeah.
But today it has a certain stature
Absolutely.
in the whole way people relate to film. So when you're working, what do you think of? The immediate success or the long term? How does one
You always hope for a big success right now.
right now?
हाँ, बात का तो पता नहीं जो होगा. Also, I think as Indian, as Indian cinema, as far as especially Hindi cinema goes, there's no concept of rediscovering a film. जो फिल्म 80s की काफी great films भी हैं, those are forgotten. No one is going back to now. Let's say even Sudhir Mishra's early work like ये वो मंजिल तो नहीं, superb film. जो क्लासिक्स हैं जो सबको पता है, जाने भी तो यार everyone knows. They'll go back to that. They'll go back to Maheshwat, Saransh or Arth, but they won't go back to Akash or a Daddy. So equally good films. So there's a kind of a reluctance to go deeper in that cinema. So the thing is कि आज मतलब these are rare, like कागज के फूल is a rare thing. कागज के फूल, Guide, which were not that successful then when they released. So these are kind of rarities. And maybe they also got that popular because the filmmakers made other films which became big. Or they, like in Guru Dutt's case, he was already a big name with Pyasa, and he later made Sahib Biwi or Gulam, which made classics. So people want to discover other work.
Well, I think there is a certain faith, we can say, that one should have, that work done honestly and in good hands will find its audience sooner or later.
That's the
I
faith we
think
work for.
that's the
That's the faith we go in with.
right?
Yeah,
That's the only thing you can count on.
Yeah. आगे जो होगा नहीं होगा वो फिल्म की
वो किसी को
किस्मत
नहीं
है.
पता
Like
है.
we say in the industry, project की किस्मत है.
Correct.
So बाकी पता नहीं.
Coming to anything else you want to add about Gowariker?
Yeah, those two films are like his peak.
Is his peak, right?
He was just it's a very, very strange journey for a filmmaker who actually his first two films I thought were okay, but
Okay, yeah.
you didn't expect a lagan out of him. Suddenly, ये क्या हो? मतलब, filmmaker generally has a अच्छा इस टाइप का काम है, ये कुछ मतलब उसकी क्वालिटी है.
थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है आमिर खान का भी इसमें टच है कि प्रोडक्शन is very ambitious.
Yeah.
No stone unturned kind of thing. If it is his production, I mean, it would be great for any director because he would go out of his way to ensure. And I knew some people again there, the DOP and his team and so on. It was a kind of trend setting. The way they worked on that film, they said is the ideal way to make a film for the first time, in fact. Then gradually, I think we have made those systems more mainstream. But for Amir Khan, he set the trend of what we call a very professional way of working.
Right.
Coming to Hirani and his background, again, I want to touch upon. He comes from a middle class background, no film connection whatsoever. He went to FTI, but I believe his father had a typing institute, and when the son was interested in acting, he thought he'll go to FTI to become an actor, but he did the editing course. And I had seen him in FTI when he was graduating from his editing course, and nobody knew that he will become a director. He was an editor for many years, editing anything which, like for bread and butter, some film magazines and so on. Then suddenly, with Munna Bhai MBBS, where Vinod Chopra gave him that film, he started. But somewhere, I think, do you agree that his familiarity with that world of a certain middle class sensibility is there in him,
Absolutely.
which helps communicate to the street.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you see his Munna Bhai films,
Mm.
he uh, he writes with the in that language,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. He again uses that language in Sanju.
Hmm.
And also PK in Alien is speaking in Bhojpuri, which is such a
Bhojpuri.
weird concept, but he pulls it off.
Yeah, that's the magic of this
Yeah.
thinking. When you're intending to reach people,
Yeah.
then you
That
you
language.
make these decisions
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's an alien but he speaks Bhojpuri.
Yeah.
Or you create Bhai-like character.
Yeah.
I think it's just a way to bring it down to that street level, lingo of Bombay.
Yeah.
The way Arshad Varsi and
Yeah.
Sanjay
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
that language,
Yeah.
it's very, very consciously characterized.
Yeah.
Uh, and then even a complex concept or philosophy becomes very accessible. And that, but do you think that's the work of the writer then? It comes upon the writer to,
I think it's both the director and the writer, because if you see,
but it has to be written out.
absolutely, and Hirani is always co-writing with Abhijat.
Abhijat, yeah.
So after his first film, Munna Bhai MBBS,
He's been co-writing with
they've
him.
all co-written these films. So I think they have that. Also, I think Hirani's films are, you can see that these are Hirani's films. He's that author in that way कि वो personalized films हैं उसकी कि ये मेरी film making
He's
है.
able to turn situations into high comedy every
High
time.
comedy, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and also
That comes naturally to him.
very much, yeah, and he does such a wonderful job out of it.
Hmm.
And he says these big things, and yet,
So as we were saying, that saying the big things,
yeah,
according to him, he doesn't set out to do it, but
yeah,
it turns out that way.
it turns out that.
I was surprised to read that he did Three Idiots, and he was just excited that college vibe की film है, जैसे आपने college vibe पे किया,
Yeah,
let's create this world, and then उसमें themes आ जाती हैं,
right,
और उसमें ये education की theme निकल आई,
yeah,
as you work on it.
right, absolutely, yeah.
And this one, Lage Rao, what was the trigger that set him off? I
think one thing that I read was that there was this particular character who was in jail, and there he read my experiments with the truth and how it transformed. So the original story of Lage Rao Munna Bhai was about a freedom fighter who was involved in one of those protests during Satyagraha or Quit India movement, and he got a lathi on his head, and he went into a coma. And when he comes out of the coma, it's 1990s, but because he doesn't know that 40 years have passed, he's still seeing Bapu around. So that was where it came from.
He speaks about this a sort of method he has evolved of laugh, cry, and dramatize. LCD calls it.
Okay. Yeah.
He spoke in one session.
Right.
I happened to be there with FTI students.
Right.
Online during, I think, the COVID days.
Right.
So I thought, oh, he also has some trick.
Yeah.
He called it LCD. So he says that every scene has to have one of these things.
Right.
It should either make you laugh, or it should make you cry, or it should be very dramatic.
Yeah. Now that you say, of course,
and so he kind of revealed his secret recipe.
Right.
But do you think it's like one can have a formula? It's at a micro level.
I think his films work because of that formula. He is using that formula.
He's using it very successfully.
He's using it very successfully.
But in a way, I think you cannot steal a formula, because I think even though he's saying it, it comes naturally to him.
Absolutely.
And if somebody else tries this, it may be a trashy film, because they'll be forcing this onto a script.
Like Manmohan Desai used to say, ki, my film has a item every 9 minutes. So every 9 minutes there will be a action sequence or a song or a comedy sequence or something like that. So, but he did it very well.
So he uses comedy to make serious
Makes it.
points.
I was
And
watching PK the other day, and I thought this was perhaps the only film in Indian history, that Hindi film industry, that was almost an atheist film.
PK,
वो ऑलमोस्ट वो टच भी कर देता है, वो
टच
कहता
करता
है
है
कि भाई हम दो भगवान हैं, जो भगवान ने तो हमको बनाया है उसके बारे में कुछ नहीं पता, और दूसरा है जिसे हमने बनाया उसके बाद, लेकिन वो अब क्योंकि इंडिया है, वी कैन मेक एन एथेइस्ट फिल्म, सो बाद में कहता है कि हाँ उस भगवान को पूछना चाहिए जिसने हम सबको बनाया है.
he goes close to
वेरी वेरी
challenging
क्लोज टू बिकमिंग एन एथेइस्ट
basic
फिल्म, बट वो
atheist
पीछे हट
film.
जाता है. या
Yeah, but also I think he was addressing the what we call fake
हाँ,
godmen.
फेक गॉडमैन,
बहुत ज़्यादा हो गए
एब्सोल्युटली, या
हैं, you know,
एब्सोल्युटली फेक गॉडमैन, वो सब था.
religion के नाम पे जिनको
हाँ,
कमाना है वो
या
बहुत ज़्यादा हो गए हैं.
या
I think somewhere that he
या
was trying to
अंधश्रद्धा वगैरह सब बातें वो
हाँ
बोलता है, एंड आई थिंक इट डज अ वेरी वेरी फनी थिंग.
funny thing with that. Gandhigiri is a new word he's coined, which
एब्सोल्युटली, या
became
या
you know
या
got into the language.
Mm.
Zoya Akhtar, the third and final director that I thought we can talk about three directors
Right.
from this period that we are focusing.
Yeah,
I thought, Zoya Akhtar, because also a woman director,
Yeah.
they're so rare
yeah, absolutely.
in the industry.
Mm.
So she's one. Though she does come from a privileged background, I will say that because, parents
Absolutely. Yeah,
from the industry and big names,
yeah.
she gets that advantage.
Mm.
But even then, to see, this advantage can be there for a film or two. Afterwards is what you do with it. So she has consistently created work.
Constantly, I think मुझे लगता है कि ये जो भी नेपोटिज्म वगैरह की डिबेट रही है, in our industry especially, if you make a bad film, you're immediately called out.
Hmm.
You might be anyone's son, you might be anyone's daughter, but you're out of the industry, or कहीं प्रोडक्शन करोगे आप, वो सब करोगे, but unlike like in any other business, आप सेठ
Yeah,
के
you
बेटे
can
हो, आप
sustain.
सेठ के बेटे हो तो
आप CEO बने
आप
रहोगे.
CEO बने रहोगे. In our industry, with all these talk of nepotism, and to a certain degree it's right also, but it's very democratic in that sense.
So yeah, so I was just saying that okay, she's a woman director, but she had some advantage
Absolutely,
to start and break the mold.
Yeah,
But then she creates a body of work which very clearly shows that she has a worldview, a take on things consistently with the kind of subjects she chooses.
right.
How would you evaluate her work?
I think one of the great things about her work is it's so varied.
So variant.
So first film she starts is Luck by Chance, which is set in a film industry. But her protagonist and both the protagonists are people from outside. So she's seeing word from there. And like what this guy Aryan Khan did, she also got a similar kind of a benefit in support. वो सारे के सारे actors हैं एक एक shot के लिए, something that no one else would have managed, but she manages it. But she does a good job.
Hmm.
So it's a fairly competent film that she
Competent
makes, Luck by Chance, and you're like, अच्छा ठीक है film industry में. Then she goes on to make Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, which is a highly male film.
Hmm.
It's about
The
three
men's
men.
world she
It's a
enters.
men's world. And he sees things from men's world. It's not, when you see that film, you don't feel कि अच्छा ये कोई female filmmaker है जो men के ऊपर film बना रहा है. So, वो उन्हीं नजरों से फिल्म देख रही है. कहानी उन्हीं तीन men की है. It's also a highly aspirational film. Also, I think it's one of those core things कि इसने और इम्तियाज अली ने ही ज़्यादा इजाद किया है ये. This okay, we'll go on travel and find ourselves kind of a cinema, which is now like the core thing of social media, Insta and all. Let's go out, travel and find ourselves. I think these were one of the few films that started it. So a huge trendsetter in that way. very, very interesting film also. Then she makes Dil Dhadakne Do, I think was
Dil
her
Dhadakne
third
Do.
film. Another excellent film set on a cruise, set in this huge dysfunctional family. Very, very entertaining, and yet taking up yet a very, very layered film. And also she is one of, like, you know, like Karan Johar recently said कि आज की डेट में मैं अगर कभी खुशी कभी गम बनाने जाऊं तो मुझे वो 3 एक्टर्स नहीं मिलेंगे because no one works in a multi-star. But she manages it. She manages it time after time. She makes
Multi-starrer films.
multi-starrer films. There's Anil Kapoor, there's Ranveer Singh, who's in a very subdued role, who does a wonderful job in a subdued role. So again, and then, you know, you're like, अच्छा ये यार बैंड्रा की लड़की है, ये she knows this.
She knows that world.
Yeah, and then she makes Gully Boy.
Gully Boy, that's a total surprise.
Yeah, which is completely not from her world.
Not from her world.
Bandra East or Bandra Vista, two very, very different places. She goes to Bandra East and she makes this film which comes as if it's being made from a Bandra East kind of a.
So that's
and very authentic. What I love about the work is that it's very authentic. And she's very, very humanist.
Humanist
it's something that one can say about very, very few filmmakers, but her view is always empathetic. She's, even though अगर वो villainish भी थोड़े negative characters भी हैं तो भी she's rarely judging. She brings this very, very humanist point of cinema.
I believe that she started off by seeing this music video of some artist, Nazi or someone, which she developed into Gully Boy.
Right.
And then her persistence to, you know, go deeper and deeper, meet the person many times, understand that world, and that whole thing for authenticity.
Right.
I think that is one theme I think we should emphasize, that this cinema is about people who are for authenticity.
Also, क्या हो रहा है अभी ना, especially with these small town films that have done well, and there's a lot of content on OTT which is like small town content. So everyone is, or especially with these South Indian 4-5 films doing very, very well. So everyone is like rooted content चाहिए, rooted content चाहिए. और rooted content क्या होता है? Small town होता है. I went and narrated one producer asked me कि rooted content film चाहिए. मैंने कहा rooted है पर बॉम्बे में सेट है. क्या बॉम्बे में rooted थोड़ी ना होता है. So the idea of being rooted.
I made a rooted Bombay film.
Even Satya was a very rooted.
I'm rooted here.
Yeah.
I should make a film about the world I know.
Yeah.
I'm very conscious of this, that urban reality can be your roots, you know. Roots doesn't mean कि आप एक गांव से हो, वही आपका roots है. आप कितने लोगों का एक्सपीरियंस अर्बन एक्सपीरियंस है ना. मेजॉरिटी अभी और सब सिटीज की तरफ ही आ रहे हैं. नहीं है तो उनका एक्सपीरियंस ये बनने वाला है. तो उस रियलिटी को एक्सप्लोर करना चाहिए कि क्या है ये अर्बैनिटी. But then what do you think of today? Let's see. I mean, people say, I myself gave a talk, you know, the crisis is cinema. That today it is in a crisis, isn't it? That in what sense? That on the one hand you have the so-called artistic films. On the other hand, you have the commercial. This divide we know here. And we're talking about films which sort of balance meaning with being commercial. But what I see is, you know, would you agree that, you know, there is a crisis in the sense the artistic films are again not like, say, Ray's films which were rooted, since we just mentioned, you know. They seem to be sort of done with a sensibility which is, one can call festival friendly, you know.
Right.
So it's as if they're creating for another audience. because there's no market here. And somewhere that language is imbibed, of another culture, another reality into what we call artistic films.
Right.
So that I feel is a crisis, which wasn't there when, say, people were more innocent about
Right. Yeah.
loving cinema and not trying to make a film for a festival. And so that is a bubble. There's another bubble here on the commercial side that do we have an authentic success? Like, I mean, apart from say some of these directors, but what do you find today that producers and makers are hell bent on creating a perception of success because there's so much investment riding on it. They just are, kind of creating an idea that this film is successful and pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. So so nobody is really asking the hard questions that to get a genuine commercial success, what kind of films should you back? Rather, they are still trying to push through that, okay, it is a big budget film, it has been made, and now it is successful. So this is the two crises at both ends, I feel. And with these filmmakers, I think they have navigated it very well.
Right.
What would you call it? How would you see this? That where does mainstream cinema go with this?
I think so. A couple of things about it. The first thing that this whole thing about that you said कि जो art house cinema है, that's very independent and that's focused more on the festival market. Now, I think it's a very ultimately we are all working in a market space. So when you're making a film which you know is not going to run commercially in India, it's not going to do a lot of business. How do you get back your money? Or how do you succeed? How do you get seen?
So you rely on festival
So
acceptance.
you rely on festival acceptance, and so you make those kind of films which you feel. And of course, I think like every other thing about cinema, I think this is also belief that अच्छा ऐसी film है तो वो festivals में accept हो जाएगी और वैसी film नहीं होगी, but who knows?
Okay.
Like something like Lagan becoming an Oscar nominee, it was not the kind of film that you would expect.
You'd expect.
It's a big budget spectacle.
That is what I feel, that see, aspiring to be Oscar nominee is different from becoming an Oscar nominee.
Absolutely.
That is what I would appreciate,
Absolutely.
So he's making a film he believes in. So happens that it gets picked up.
Ultimately, that's the only way you
That's
can
the
make
only
a film.
way one should.
This sounds good to me. This is exciting. Let's make this
Exactly.
film. That's the only way to be. Now, the second thing that you said was about the problem with the commercial cinema. Now, this has been an issue, I think, worldwide, especially after the Netflix came. The viewing patterns changed big time. In India, they changed after COVID. West was already struggling with it. That's why, like if you remember, 10 साल पहले, I think 10 साल हो गए, तब भी people like Woody Allen and Martin Scorsese were finding it difficult to get money for their films. So it was only the Marvel cinema that was working big time, plus some other cinema. So of course, there's that one thing with OTT, the viewing patterns have changed. Also, I think what has happened is we are not making young films. Like if we go thoda pehle, the original three great actors, great stars, Devanand, Dilip Kumar, Raj Kapoor. Raj Kapoor started somewhere around 47. They all started somewhere around 47, 48, 1947, 1948. And Raj Kapoor was over as an actor by 1971. 23 years of stardom. Dilip Kumar was another 4-5 years, 25, 26 years of stardom. Devanand another 3-4, so maybe 30 years of stardom. If you look at today's stars, Amir came in 88. So it's been 37 years. Salman came वो 30 वो 99 में आया मैंने प्यार किया. Akshay Kumar, Ajay Devgan, it's been 33, 34 years. Shah Rukh came in 90, so it's been 33 years. So and they're still our biggest stars. The other big stars, Ranveer Singh, Ranveer Kapoor, they're both in their 40s. I'm thankful that Ahan Pandey came and we finally have a genuine star after like maybe 10 years. Where are the stars? Why are we not making film for the young people? Somewhere the industry feels ये तो इंस्टा पे ही रहेंगे, they're not coming for film. But Sayara proves them wrong. People want to watch, but are we serving them content which is young? Or are we just wallowing that nostalgia कि हाँ, you know what last अगर हम पिछले 10 साल हम 2010s की बात करते हैं, with the exception of O Stree Kalana and Ata Mathi Satakli from Singham and maybe one or two, there are the dialogues that became those cultural landmarks that people used to talk about. Like हम आज भी शोले के dialogues दिन में बोलते हैं, आज भी त्रिशूल के बोलते हैं, आज भी लोग बात करते हैं. अगर हम बॉलीवुड की बात करते हैं तो हम शाहरुख खान की फिल्मों की बात करें, which came 25 years ago. We are talking about DDLJ, we are talking about कभी वो क्या कुछ कुछ होता है, तो those films came 25. We are the young films. I think that is one major crisis that people are not noticing.
That is where I think
There's a gap.
makers like Zoya, Akhtar can perhaps.
Yeah, and I think young filmmakers also.
Young filmmakers.
Yeah. There's that gap. We haven't had a new star. We haven't had a new male star. We have had some female stars.
Yeah. New male stars
new
haven't
male
been there.
stars,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
Varun Dhawan's Siddharth Malhotra also came in what 2011, I think, 11 or 12. So we need more male stars.
So I think I will end with that. Thank you, Pawan, for this conversation. And anybody has questions on any of the things that we discussed or Pawan's work as a screenwriter, those films. So this is your chance to ask from him.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so regarding Stree, जैसे आपने बोला that you do this basic story and then you do this layering of a social issue or a theme. So how does that emerge? Like, is it within the milieu or within the imagination of the director or the initial script itself that you will weave it with some sort of social issue or
I think, see, the director came on board later in that film. The script was already written. So as you develop the script, ideas emerge. कि हम ये कह सकते हैं, हम वो कह सकते हैं. The characters का word क्या है? Characters क्या? And those are layerings. अच्छा ये दुनिया है, इसमें हमारे ये issues है. That's it. हमारी जब मेन कहानी वही थी कि एक ये लेजेंड है कि वो स्त्री का लाना एंड वहाँ पे एक ये there's a female ghost who haunts that place. So that was the basic idea. We wanted to make a fun film. We wanted to make a fun horror comedy. That's what we went in. And of course, as we started writing, other themes emerged.
But like, for example, in Hirani's films, I think in Munnabai also, the Gandhigiri was the principle in which he started.
Yeah.
Then he made it into a satirical comedy. So is it more common that it starts with an idea or a moral? Or
I don't think they would have come up with the idea of Gandhigiri as like when to start off with. I don't know because जो जैसे मैंने कहा कि what Hirani says is कि उसका original idea ये था कि एक वो है freedom fighter है who got a danda on his head in 1940s and he woke up. So he might have, and that's the guy who starts interacting with. So actually, even Munna Bhai came later into the film. There was no Munna Bhai in the first draft. So that's how a film evolved. कि अच्छा ये मेरा एक कैरेक्टर है जो गांधी से बात करता है. अब गांधी से बात करता है फिर क्या होगा? So that's how. So the name Gandhigiri, the word Gandhigiri might have emerged later, or maybe that was the idea that maybe one day he came up with this idea. हाँ Gandhigiri क्या बढ़िया word है. Let's do something with it. So films like evolve in different ways.
So, but most of the time, it is, I think, not a priori agenda for writers and collaborators to make a very theme based story, because I think that would be too restrictive and it will be a stilted sort of process. I think usually it is you get excited about a
Get excited
particular
about it.
story,
Yeah.
or a character or a situation, and you say, okay, this will be wonderful to, develop. And then, as he said, because you are that kind of a person, those kind of people are involved in the film, it starts taking a certain meaning. Those layers start coming in very organically. And then, of course, as a person who wants to tell a story, themes are important, and then you kind of develop those themes further consistently. The big point that we get from him is that the storytelling definitely comes first. You have to lay it out as a good,
Absolutely. Yeah.
effective story. It needs to work at that level.
स्टोरी वर्क करेगा तो सब कुछ वर्क करेगा.
But then, as he said, that the sensibility can take it into a very different direction.
Yeah.
The same type of setting, theme. Somebody can make a very bad film out of it. Somebody can make a good film out of it. That is still open.
So, sir, when I was in my masters, I was making a film, and I've seen the pattern with my friends as well. We make, we write about stories which are happening mostly in our head, which cannot be externalized a lot.
Right.
Mostly it's like one character उसका trauma चल रहा है कुछ तो. Is it okay? We do that, something like that, and how to go from there, get out of our head.
See, I think the problem with such a film is कि आपको वो बनाने के लिए फंड्स मिलने में मुश्किल होगा. Because you can make a very psychological kind of a film, but if it's a single person film, the commercial gets very, very difficult. The making of that film becomes very, very difficult. And I think that's also growth of a writer and director. When we start off, our films are very, very personal. ये मेरी कहानी है, मुझे ये कहनी है कि मेरी कहानी है, but now am I a character here? And if I am a character here, who are the other characters? Because जो आपका trauma है, उसमें trauma में other characters would also be there. So we need to bring that out. क्योंकि ऐसे, and how to build a dramatic story. बिकॉज वो जो स्टेट ऑफ माइंड टाइप की फिल्म होगी, वो फिल्म अच्छी हो सकती है. मैंने कुछ शॉर्ट फिल्म्स देखी हैं जो बहुत अच्छी भी थी, लेकिन कैन दे रीच अ वाइडर ऑडियंस? कैन दे गेट मेड? सो ऑल दोज क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. सो द आइडिया वुड बी टू ब्रिंग आउट, आप कहना क्या चाहते हो. अच्छा, मुझे ये कहना है, मेरा ये ट्रॉमा था और मुझे उस पर फिल्म बनानी है, और अब उसके इर्द गिर्द मैं कहानी कहता हूँ. सो यू टेक दैट ट्रॉमा, दैट one line trauma, this is what happened to me. And now, keeping that as the theme, I'll tell my story. Now, that story doesn't need to be that personal. It would still be a personal film. But you need to make it कि अच्छा अब ये बनेगी कैसे? Because also, filmmaking is an expensive process.
One follow-up question to that. So in these kind of films, the starting kind of films, our stories are way too personal. We are not able to write about other characters, which are, I think, very important.
Absolutely.
There should be 2-3 more characters which will bring out the personal story.
Yeah.
Usme any tips you have how to write other characters when we are dealing with such kind of personal trauma kind of stories or something like that?
See, trauma, I'm also a psychologist by profession. I also am a counselor. And trauma generally is relational. So, आपका जो trauma है, उसमें दूसरे लोग रहे होंगे. Now, when you're talking about other people, what were they doing there?
Mm.
What were they feeling? Now, that's, I think, as an artist, that needs to be done, is that you need to look at things from their point of view. And you maybe they still remain very, very dark people, and that's okay.
Mm.
But there have to be these other people who interact with your character. Because as a solo person, making a film which is about a soul character is going to be difficult. Also, what do you do visually
Mm.
after a while?
Mm.
You know, so there would be these challenges which would come up कि अच्छा ये एक मेरा करेक्टर है, ये मेरा ट्रॉमा है, बट मेरा करेक्टर करेगा क्या?
Mm.
So it also needs to be visually designed in such a way. So these are very, very difficult films to make. And if you still feel very strongly with them about them, you can still make them, but it just becomes very, very difficult.
Okay.
ठीक है? We'll wrap. Thanks, Pawan.